Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're connecting from. Thank you very much for joining me today for another episode of Style to Impact. I'm like super pumped and excited for today's conversation because I'm going to have an amazing guest. I know I've been saying this about all my guests, but all my guests are amazing. And this particular person that I'm bringing onto this conversation in this series that I'm calling Style Story, the Style Story series, basically um, identifying, talking about those things that we hold in ourselves and about ourselves and how we show up in the world. But before I get into today's conversation, I'd like to start with a wellness check in because I think it's important for us to take a moment to reflect, to center ourselves, and to truly identify what is it we need to show up intentionally for ourselves, to feel great about ourselves. So if you're joining me live, let me know in the chat that you're here and how are you feeling? How is your week going? What do you need right now to show up as your most authentic, happy, healthy self? If you're watching the replay, thank you very much for coming back and listening to today's replay. And I also want to hear from you as well. So let me know in the chat how you're doing and how you're feeling. If you're new to this space, I'm Salida Roberts. I'm the founder of Style to Impact. And I truly believe that representation is not just you having a seat at the table or you being in the room, but it's also how you show up. And so let's get into today's conversation as I welcome my guest on stage. Oh my gosh, it's Joy. It's Joy. Hello,
Hi.
everybody. Say hello to Joy Spencer, my storytelling sister. She's a storytelling expert, speaking coach, and host of the Reframe to Create podcast. Welcome, Joy.
Thank you so much, Salida. I am so excited to be here. And hi, everyone, wherever you are, whenever you are checking in. I'm so excited, obviously.
Yes, and I need to say it. I know what I talked about it a little bit backstage, but I want to say it on camera. You look fabulous, like
Thank you. Thank you.
absolutely
I was
fabulous.
nervous. I mean, I'm coming on the start I'm on with an image stylist. So I was like, okay, like I gotta represent. Like I cannot get caught out here looking crazy. So I was like, okay,
I
let me
don't
put
I don't
something
know
together.
why, but everyone does that. They're like, okay, I'm speaking with you. You're a style expert. I cannot come on, but I appreciate
Yeah,
the
you
effort.
inspire us to step up and really think about it and be intentional, which I think is what you want us to do, right? So
Yes,
so
that's
yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what I want you to do. But here's the thing though. I don't want you to do it just for special occasion. I want you to do it every day. You don't have to be
Uh,
glam and gorgeous. And I mean, you are gorgeous every single day, but you don't have to go full 100 hair, makeup, and everything every single day. But make an effort. Make an effort. But I appreciate you though. I
yeah, so
appreciate
made a special effort here.
Yes. And so I want to go right into the conversation as we're talking about style stories, which is some of these narrative that women, especially Black women and women of color, have held on to, whether or not it's our parents or guardians growing up told us how to show up in the corporate world, or we showed up in the corporate world and someone told us tone it down, don't bring all your full and authentic self into that space. Just try to be professional, but not don't bring your whole self, right? And there is that battle that we go through constantly every single day that we're getting dressed, every single day that we're stepping into spaces, trying to live our lives and feed our families and be successful and build our businesses. And it's like, do I want to wear this today? Should I wear this? Should I show up this way? Should I speak this way? Do I need to tone down how I'm sounding, how I speak, and all of that? There's always that all that energy and that just hamster wheel going around. I am curious, has there ever been a time when you felt you had to dress in a certain way to be taken seriously in a professional setting?
In a professional setting,
Yeah.
that's a tough one. Um, I can think of it personal settings because my
That's
my
totally
my
fine.
my style challenges began very early. Um,
Mm.
my my mom and my sister are just fashionistas. So they're those those people who those women who they wake up like this, like they're
Yeah.
always
Hmm.
glammed up, in my opinion, looking like they look like this all the time.
All
Like
the time.
they're
Yeah.
going out, they dress, and I wasn't that way
Okay.
and growing up, I wouldn't say I was a tomboy, but I liked wearing skirts, dresses with shorts underneath. So I was a little bit more comfort. I would dress for comfort and wasn't so concerned about, how other people were looking at me and how I was perceived. So I feel like
Okay.
early on, I started getting that messaging from them about
Mhm.
what you're going to wear. And we would get
Yeah.
fights and I would cry. I'm like, no, I don't want to wear that. And there would be this whole thing. And I got no support from my dad because he would just be like, wear whatever your mom says. But my older brother, Babs, would like get in there and be like, leave her alone. Let her
Yeah.
wear what she wants to wear because they didn't think I was matching correctly or whatever it was that they thought. So I think early on I started picking up that my natural inclination and style was not that it was too much, but it was too little. It was sort
Mm.
of like too boring or not matching or just like didn't make sense and I needed to spruce it up more and
Yeah.
like look more, I wouldn't say girly, but sort of bring more of the va-va-voom. And
Ah.
I didn't care that much. I cared about other things. I wanted to do and be engaged in other things. So I
Yeah.
think coming into work and school and at different points in time and I grew up mostly in Nigeria and went to boarding schools and especially coming to the States where you're coming to a country where this is where the brands are,
Yeah.
people are more focused on branding. I think I definitely did not impress a lot of people with how I was styling myself in my first early years in college. And because I just, I was like, the clothes fit, putting them on, I mean, or I like it. I was not always so concerned about how I was looking or perceived.
Mm.
Advantages or disadvantages to that. But
Yeah.
I think that coming into the world of work and into profession, and I started out in nonprofit work where we were not, dressing. It was not about how you were looking. Like the shirt matches the pants.
It,
Great.
it was just like, come, do the
Right.
work. It's
What was important was your brain, right? So
yeah.
your body and your clothes were just the vehicles to carry around your brain and whatever was happening there and in there. So it's sort of taken me a while until getting into corporate America to be in a space where there's a dress code, an actual dress code, where
Yeah.
there's there's an expectation of how you look and making sure you're looking, as my
Yeah.
mom would say, decent. But so so
Yeah.
I think over time I've come into my own and sort of found the things that are important to me when it comes to dress and style, and the things that are less important, I just sort of like let them, fall by the wayside. And I think that freedom has allowed me to experiment a little bit in some areas, but then also just give myself the freedom to just sometimes just be like, I just don't always dress up. I just don't always do the thing. And
Yeah.
I feel good. I feel fine about it. And I admire and appreciate others who do and who can do that. And so that when I do dress up,
You
look
get
at
all the compliments coming your
oh
way.
my gosh, you clean up so nice. I'm like, yes, 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 I can do
Yeah.
too. So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I thank you for sharing that. There were so many points there that I was listening to, and I'm like, okay, which direction do I want to go into? And I think I want to go into a little bit to get your perspective on, because this is something that, I mean, I grew up in the Caribbean, grew up with my grandmother, where it's when you leave your home, you have to
Mhm.
represent yourself, your family, make sure that your clothes is ironed, like your clothes is clean, your shoes is clean. Like I grew up with that.
Yes.
And it was obviously coming from that field. When you go out, people needed to see you in a certain light,
Yes.
right? And you said something there where it's your brain. When you worked in nonprofit, it's like if the most important thing was your brain, not how you look. And
Yeah.
this is an argument that is still happening in the world, right? I sometimes have discussions with my clients, and some persons I'm posting something like, oh, it shouldn't matter what you wear. It's your expertise, it's your credibility, it's what you bring to the table and how can you do the job. But interesting enough, we know that perception is not always reality. It's not how you perceive someone is necessarily how they are, right? So if that
Mhm.
person is dressed up, doesn't mean they're good for the job. If they're not, doesn't mean they're great for the job. But how can we, I want to talk a little bit about that in terms of the shift that you would have seen. Like, one, what was the mindset in terms of, oh, it doesn't matter how you show up? Do you think there's a difference between, yes, you can show up, represent yourself, wear clothes, still do the job? What would you say? What would you say to that for women who are like,
I think it's a delicate balance. I think it's changing. I think it's a delicate balance for women because it's not just dressing up. It's like how you're dressing up, right? So there's typically been a professional office wear sort of culture, which tends to make women's dress more neutral, more possibly more masculine, typically
yeah,
masculine. So that is how you're expected to represent and present. Now, you know, our version of dolled up, like how much jewelry are you wearing? Is it big? Is it quote unquote gaudy? Or what's happening here? Or are you wearing sparkles or flashy? Like, so that might be your authentic self and how you like to dress and show up. But that might be where you start asking questions of like, okay, do I or should I dress and show up this way? And let's not talk about hair, right? Like, as Black women changing or wearing your hair differently in all sorts of
yeah,
different ways. And I've just always quote unquote trained my people about my hair. So very early on in my nonprofit work, or I would always change and I know people have different feelings about this, but I would always change my hairstyle however I wanted to change it, from
yeah.
week to week or however I wanted to wear it. And, always getting comments or compliments about the hair. And I just told folks in my office, just make sure you know what my face looks like, because my hair is always going to change. Like,
Ah,
focus on the face, make sure you know
yeah.
how joy looks, and the hair is gonna change, and
Interesting.
it's always gonna be different. And and sometimes people are like, oh, they didn't know what to say. I'm like, just say that it looks nice. And so so I did not bear the burden of, oh, I want to change my hair, but people won't recognize. I don't know, whatever questions that people are asking about their
Yeah.
hair when they change. I'm like, I want to change my hair. And so I'm going to, if people are going to be asking me a lot of questions, I'm going to set the tone and set the environment for how people can interact and engage with me as relates to my hair. So I gave the instructions. I'm like, here are the rules. You can follow these rules.
I
And so I can
I
get about my business with my hair and it not be a
I
thing.
love that. I love that approach because I do think that as Black women, like we know the bar, we know the goalposts, that all the things that we have to deal with in the workplace, in the world. I think it's important at the end of the day when I show up, I'm showing up for myself. Yes, I'm
Mhm.
respecting the culture of the environment that I'm in, but I need to feel like my whole self. I'm not shrinking, I'm not suppressing who I am. I'm going into that world or that space feeling free of that burden. And I also believe it's like you decide how you're going to take some of those comments and those feedback. If I change my hair every week, every day, and 10 people want to comment on it, that's up to you, right? That's their thing. If that they want to make it an issue, that's up to them. Because I think we are in control of our narrative. And so I wanted to ask you, just coming from that mindset, do you think the way that we show up, our professional style or personal style, can be used to challenge some of those stereotypes and really promote diversity in the workplace and beyond?
I think so, only if we actually talk about it, right?
Mm,
So I think that if you're making a statement, well, I wouldn't say making a statement. If you're just being yourself and you're showing up, and
yeah.
you showing up as who you are, and your hair or your dress is being perceived as a statement, um, I think the progress or the growth or the shift or the expansion of the narrative or the culture doesn't happen unless you're in dialogue with folks, and people's perceptions are being engaged and challenged, and there's some sort of conversation happening.
Yeah.
Because in an absence of a conversation or a story, all sorts of things are being people are running off in their heads, thinking whatever it is that they're thinking or they're perceiving. Which is why I
Mhm.
say I use, not that I was making, because I'm the last person to make a fashion statement, but 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 when it becomes a thing, when we're having a conversation or a discussion about fashion or look, I don't shy away from actually having the conversation and really and maybe conversation is not the word, because I'm not I'm not up for negotiation. Who I am, my identity, my hair, my style, who I show is, I'm not engaged in a negotiation with
Yeah.
anyone. I'm not asking anyone's approval or for them to
Can can
affirm
can we
anything.
can we just stick a pin right there and repeat that? Because I think it's
Yeah.
important that that message translate to anyone that's listening to this conversation right now, whether or not you're here live or you're watching the replay. Let's repeat that. Don't negotiate.
No.
I'm going to let you repeat it, Joy,
Yeah.
because you said it
No,
best.
my identity is not up for negotiation. All of our identities are not up for negotiation,
I'm
right?
making a note of that.
I mean, negotiate your salary, yes, but you like you're not negotiating your identity, or
Yeah,
or people needing to prove, or I don't even think people, and I think we need to set ourselves free a little bit from people needing to, feeling that people need to approve of us, affirm, or like, or really accept how we look. I think the boundaries are a little further out than that. Like it's about respectful speech, about how people are interacting, and also about not um obviously discriminating against people based on how they look and all those things. That's the parameter to engage in this conversation around that parameter. But that inner sanctum, that closer space about what this says about, me or my abilities, like that's not what we're,
yeah,
that's not what you should be negotiating within yourself. So just because someone asks you a question, just because someone questions you about yourself, doesn't mean you need to ask yourself that same question. Someone's like, are you really that smart? You don't have to also be like, am I really that smart? Like, no. Like, also, like, what? Like, don't negotiate,
yeah,
engage in that conversation. Like
exactly.
really, like, it's not everything that's out there that people are saying that you need to repeat in your own head, or take on for yourself. So, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
no,
I
I
don't negotiate with that.
listen to me. I am loving you on so, I mean, I loved you before, but I'm loving you on so many levels because I really do think it's up to us, right? There's so many things outside of our control. This we can't control whether or not the powers that be, our bosses or whoever, give us that promotion. But I can control how, what type of information that I allow seep into my being, that I allow seep into my soul, and how does that affect me, right? Because there's so many other things that's happening and that you have to deal with. It's like, no, I'm not negotiating. I love that. I think I'm not negotiating my identity. That is perfect, because that's what we do every single day as Black women, right? We
Right.
use all this energy to negotiate whether or not, do I want to wear that? Do I want to wear this necklace today? Do I want to wear this? Should I wear that? Am I going to be perceived this way?
Yeah.
Is it going to affect my brand? Am I going to get the promotion? It's like,
Well, I mean, if you're not, like, your clothes don't have holes in them, you're not looking scruffy, like, you're not, like, it's not, you don't have, like, disrespectful language on your
yeah,
clothes and on your shirt. You also have to, ask yourself these questions of, are the projections on me reasonable? No, these are not
yeah,
reasonable. Or even like the messages I'm saying in my head, is it reasonable? Okay, no, it's not. Then, that's also part of the revolution, being able to own yourself, own your space, and say no. No, not, it doesn't have to be an angry or aggressive way, but just saying no, that projection is incorrect.
yeah,
I'm not going to drink it and seep into it and then get into this, what it's the negotiating, the shadow boxing, where you're
yeah,
fighting battles that you don't even need to be fighting, so that you have the energy and the space to actually fight the battles that you do need to fight. But this is not one of them. And it's also okay for people not to like you. I think that is also a thing to set ourselves free on
yeah.
as well. Like it's
Because either which way,
yeah,
if we're conforming or not conforming, there's going to be
yeah,
someone who just doesn't
yeah,
like us. And
yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
they don't like your style, they don't like how you look, they don't like the shape of your nose, whatever it is. That's fine. I mean, because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not gonna look like this, in 30, for who knows how ugly I'll get, as I get older. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
whatever, like like beauty standards, like you're just holding on to these things that are fading away anyway. It's like, okay, what's most important? Your character, how you treat people, how you show
Yeah.
up, what's really happening at that deeper level. So when people are inviting you to be engaged in these superficial conversations and battles,
Yeah.
make sure that you also don't lose sight of yourself as a person, and what truly is important. It's like, am I going to fight over this image and
Yeah.
view how I'm perceived on the surface level, and not
Yeah.
ask the deeper questions about, like, well, how am I? How is my character? How am I treating people? Those are the
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
deeper, more important questions, not to get
I
distracted
love
from.
that. I absolutely love that. Now, you mentioned, like, yes, Nigerian, I'm from the Caribbean as well.
I
I'm
grew up in
curious.
Nigeria from Sierra
Look,
Leone. I want to make sure I
oh,
represent. Yeah, no, I
yeah,
don't want to get yelled at. I grew up in
grew
Nigeria.
up
I'm
in
from Sierra
Nigeria from
Leone.
Sierra Leone. Interesting mix. Now, I want to know because I look at style and the way we show up and the things that we wear. It's not only, I look at it not only as our second skin, but also
Mhm.
ways in, it's like storytelling, right? You see me, there's some stories that I'm telling based on what
Mhm.
I wear.
Yeah.
I'm very much so Caribbean, but not the Caribbean where the tourists, we wear, they think we all wear clothes that looks like this. No, it's where this love for colors and fun, and then I
Mhm.
infuse as well my love for carnival, right? I love playing mass. I love wearing a costume. And yes, I'm not gonna wear I can't wear a costume in a professional setting, but how can I bring some of that love into my personal style and the way I express myself, because it makes me happy, brings me joy. And one of the ways that I do that is through colors. Like, I
Mhm.
am full on, sometimes I wear full colors, sometimes I mix and match. How have you infused some of your cultural identity into your fashion?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I mean, I especially in the spring or the summer, I will wear my Africana. I will wear
Ah,
my print outfits. I have dresses. I have, full on, pants, outfits, all the everything. So whatever the whenever the weather permits me to wear those outfits, I wear them. I incorporate them into work, and folks are often, complimenting, "Oh, that's so nice. It looks good." And I'm like, "Thank you. I know."
yeah,
And
I
then I
love
get
it.
on I get on with the work of it. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's important to wear what makes you comfortable, and what you like, and what you enjoy. And it's it will draw attention,
yeah,
because it stands out. We stand
yeah,
out, and that's fine. And I don't think it's a bad thing, to get comfortable with being seen,
yeah.
being appreciated, getting comments, compliments of all types and all sorts, and choosing how you're going to interact and engage with that. But then again, giving it the due space and time for it, sort of like not getting too sucked into whatever is happening in someone else's head about how you're looking,
Yeah.
because yeah, you don't have time for that.
No, 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 we don't have time for that. And I love that. I think because it's this connection to a reminder and a connection to who you are and your culture and your people and your identity.
Yeah.
It's a way that you express yourself. And then I find that it opens a conversation
Mhm.
when you're engaging with someone, right? The curiosity. People are always curious. It's like, and then you get to tell your story, right?
Yeah.
You get to share a little bit about yourself. They get to learn a little bit more about your culture. Like, oh, I'm not familiar with, Nigeria. What are the cultures? Sierra
Mhm.
Leone, what's the
Mhm.
culture? And you get
Yeah.
to share that because you're expressing your cultural identity through your clothes. And I absolutely encourage anyone to do that. Like, who you are is who you are. Let that come through in the clothes that you wear, because it does allow you to spread more information in the world, right? Change the narrative, especially when it comes to how people see certain countries and certain places in the
Yeah.
world. And so, how have you developed? Now, you talked about a little bit where he's like, no, I was not that child who looked at, yeah, I need to look put together. I just want to wear clothes and go about my business.
Pretty much.
How have you developed how have you developed your confidence in your style over time? Like, what are some specific mindset shifts that you did? And what are some things that you've embraced, like incorporated into to make your style what it is today?
Yeah. So I think looking back on old pictures, um,
Those old pictures,
help.
yeah.
And I was like, I know what I was thinking at the time, but I don't understand it. I don't get it. And so
Pictures are forever, right? Especially in this day and age. It's like,
yeah, oh boy. And so but I was always happy and smiling. Like I was very happy and pleased. But I think what I've done for me is move more towards simplicity as much as possible
yeah,
because I you just have to accept where you are. I think that there's some people who have a very detailed eye, you know, the fashionistas who can
yeah,
see and put things and put outfits together in ways that I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's fascinating. That's interesting." I often will just go into a store and, you know, whatever's on the mannequin,
you're
you
the
know,
mannequin shopper.
if I can afford it, I'm like, I'll take all of it.
No, the whole thing.
Just all
Mhm.
the whole I'm like because I'm like, "Oh, you put it together in a way that I just didn't know that that's how it could go together on the rack." And
Yeah,
so I'm like, "Oh, great. Easy. You made it easy." And so now, you know, so you have that helps me to organize my closet in a different sort of way. But I think simplicity has helped me and I sort of try to I'm wearing a pattern today, but I've tried to move away from patterns and florals, a lot of things that after a while I'm like, "Ugh, I don't like this as much." But
yeah,
go with more solid, bold colors, things that I can mix and match better and things and really pay more attention to fit and making sure,
mm,
okay, this fits me. A few years ago, I went through a decluttering because I had a lot of not that I have anything against miniskirts, but I had like a lot of short skirts and spaghetti straps, and I had
yeah,
like a lot of things that when I put them on, I was pulling here and I was like, I don't want to dress in a way where I'm like uncomfortable. I'm pulling on here. I'm pulling this, I'm like, no, I want the clothes to, to fit me. I'm not going
yeah,
to go out and be doing this clothing dance. And so I become more particular about making sure that I feel like I look like a grown woman
oh, I know, I know
in
the
my
struggle.
outfits because I was like, I look like a little girl in these
Mhm,
things, so I'm like, I look too young. So I think over time, just observing where I've been fashion wise
yeah,
and sort of observing how when I see an outfit put together, I'm like, oh, I like this. And then sort of like taking it apart for parts and realizing that most of these are simple,
yeah,
and it's about fit, it's about cut, it's not about clothing that's very loud.
yeah,
And so that's sort of helped me to tone things down a little bit and then start looking at accessories, right? And like, you know, jewelry, earrings, something like
yeah.
big or like I always, I don't even know how, but this is like a really super cheapo ring, but I like, I really like it. I take it around with me everywhere and just, simplifying as much as
Yeah.
possible and just, because I if it gets complicated, I'm lost on the fashion thing. So that's helpful.
Yeah, I totally get that, but I think we have to highlight the fact that sometimes people, women think, oh, if I simplify, it becomes boring. It's like, no, you can
Mhm.
simplify and still have a statement. I mean, looking at you right now, it's a simple enough style that you can repeat, rinse and repeat, and recreate again. But it doesn't take a lot, but it makes a statement, and I think that's what's important of
Exactly.
finding what works for you. Some women, as you said, are fashionistas. They can put different looks together. They can create that influencer look, as I call it.
Mhm.
And some women like, you know what? I just want to be comfortable in terms of, yeah, I want to wear a t-shirt because that's my thing, but I'm going to accessorize it with a necklace or a statement
Mhm.
earring or something like that because it doesn't take a lot to recreate the look and know what to wear on a daily basis. So I love that. As we are wrapping up now, I wanted to know, like, based on your experience and how you're seeing, I mean, you said something really profound, don't negotiate your identity. But just to go a little bit deeper, is there maybe one or two advice that you want to leave with women of color when it comes to the struggles that they have surrounding embracing their personal style and feeling more confident in their appearances?
Yeah, I think I mean, you were born a woman of color with black girl magic for a reason, right? Or whatever. So, and we have limited time here. So I just don't think there's enough time to get everyone on board with you. You have to get on board with yourself. You have to be
Mm,
on your team first.
yeah,
Stop negotiating with folks about your identity, about who you are. Really get on board with you and just really question some of those questions that are being projected on you or that are coming at you, whether it's from inside or outside about what you're doing with your look or not doing. You really have to, like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm wearing my clothes. This is what I like. And this is what I feel comfortable in.
yeah,
And I'm respectful. I look put together and that's it. because I think that that is a revolutionary act, to
Yeah.
also not be engaged in some arguments, whether in your head or with others, that are just a distraction and taking you down a road where you're using up all your energy and things that's not what you're here for. So being on your own team, dressing up, showing up fully is who you are, bringing the fabulosity that you have to bring to the table, and not being afraid to set the tone for how you want people to address you and speak to you, and setting those boundaries about how you're looking, or whether people can touch you or not touch you. Like, it's perfectly within the, I think it's within the realm of our responsibility of how we show up in the world and how we're teaching people about who we are. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, amazing. Oh my gosh, amazing, amazing. If you're here watching live, let's just give a round of applause for that. Just owning who you are and teaching people how you want to be treated, I think is important. My aunt used to say, you teach people how to treat you, you show people how to respect you. And I truly believe that, because it's our responsibility to change the narrative, to show people how to treat us, how to respect us, and to do and not to internalize some of those narrative that they're trying to feed us in terms of how we show up. Thank you for joining me, Joy. This was such a wonderful conversation. Like,
thank you
I
for having me.
yes, I thoroughly enjoy it. I hope that everyone that's listening, the watching the live or the replay, that you enjoyed this conversation as well. Thank you all very much for being here. If we haven't connected as yet, hit that follow button here on LinkedIn. You can also connect with Joy here on LinkedIn. I will put her LinkedIn in the chat as well, so that you can connect with her there. And until next time, this is us signing off from this series of the Style Stories, sharing conversations with women who have navigated the challenge of what it means to show up as your authentic self and to take up space. I want you all to remember that representation is not just you being in the room or having a seat at the table, but it's also how you show up. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.